Ever since the Fenix A320 came out, I've really enjoyed the product, but I'd be lying if there were a few things I don't miss about the FlyByWire A320 Neo. Hey everyone, it's Hotchmania, and today I'm going to be real and I'm going to be listing a number of features that I generally prefer with the FlyByWire A320 Neo. Now, listen, the Fenix A320 has been amazing. It is one of, if not the best, payware aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and what I mean by that is just the high fidelity of the systems that are available on board. We've done videos about this in the past about how great it is, and it really is amazing. So this video is not to slam on the Fenix. Rather, it is to mention that the FlyByWire still has a leg up in a couple different areas, if you ask me. Some of these I think are truly subjective. Others are a little more objective, and I think even people at Fenix might even admit that, but it doesn't even matter. This is just my list of the items and features and things you can do in the FlyByWire A320 Neo that I think are definitely better than the Fenix, things that I miss. When I fly the Fenix, I do wish I had these features on board. Let's start with number one, and that is better Simbrief integration. Now, both planes allow you to basically file your flight plan within Simbrief, do everything in there, and then hit a couple buttons to be able to import it into the aircraft, but the FlyByWire A320 Neo does a little bit more of this. It's got more of the functionality that it imports, which makes your life a little bit easier. This isn't a huge difference, but it does save a couple steps. And in the grand scheme of things, if you're going to be saving steps and using a Simbrief integration, the more the merrier. I feel like either you're doing Simbrief integration or you're doing it manually. And so the FlyByWire definitely saves me a couple of steps, which I appreciate. So that's number one. Number two, and every single time I fly in the Fenix and I sit on the ground waiting for my IRS to align, I remember that in the FlyByWire A320 Neo, there is an instant IRS align option. I mean, look, I'm all for realism and all that, but I don't need to be sitting here for the IRS to align in however long it takes. Now, admittedly, even in the Fenix, if you do everything you're supposed to be doing and you're on air traffic control and you're getting your clearance, there's not a huge amount of waiting, but usually I'm waiting at least 1 or 2 minutes for the IRS to align before I'm ready to move the plane. Obviously, if you don't do that, you're going to run into a problem with your navigation and whatnot. So with the FlyByWire, they have the option for instant alignment, which again, not realistic, but at the end of the day, I am playing a simulator and I'd rather have other things simulated more like real life. I don't need to wait around for the computer to fake the IRS alignment. Number three, this is subjective, so you might not be with me on this one, but I think the sound pack is better in the FlyByWire A320 Neo, especially on takeoff. I love the sounds. It's not so much, you know, the major component of the takeoff sounds or anything like that. It's the little sounds. It's the jingling. It's the rumbling. I don't know. I still like and prefer the sound pack on the FlyByWire A320 Neo. Again, fully subjective, but that is my big thing right there. Number four on my list is something a lot of people have already started mentioning because these are the same people that have been flying the Fenix like me for, you know, a couple months now, and that is the company messages are super annoying in the Fenix, and in the FlyByWire, there's no company messages to deal with. So Fenix had a really cool idea that you would have load sheets and you'd be able to get it from your company and acknowledge it. And if you're delayed off the blocks, you put it in your messages. It's cool, except for the fact you can't turn it off. And if you're like me, you want your screens clear and ready to go. You don't want to see that company message sitting over there. Certainly you could ignore it, but it's annoying. And it just, as a type A personality like myself, I can't ignore it. I always have to go click in there. Yeah, I usually do it during taxi or some other time when I'm not doing a whole lot, but it's annoying. It's just, it's ever present. Whereas the FlyByWire doesn't have that feature. I'm not sure if they'll add it, but right now, it's one less thing to be annoyed by in the FlyByWire, and I appreciate that. Let's get back to, I think, a feature we can all agree is superior in the FlyByWire, and that is the Pushback Tool. So both planes offer a pushback experience through the EFB, where you can essentially give yourself pushback, turn left, turn right, you know, all that kind of stuff. The thing is, with the FlyByWire A320 Neo, it has an upgraded amenity that allows you to basically see your pushback as it's happening from the EFB. You don't have to go to an external view, see what's going on, then hop back into the cockpit, turn, adjust, and whatnot. There's more options in terms of how quickly you turn or not quickly you turn, directions. It's just an overall better pushback tool. And given between the choice of both aircraft, I definitely think the pushback tool is definitely better in the FlyByWire A320 Neo, and I think it's well worth it. Next on my list is VATSIM integration in the EFB. Ever since I saw this feature in the EFB, I fell in love with it on the FlyByWire because basically it allows you to see all the frequencies that are available within your range through the EFB and able to change them around. Now again, in most days, it's not a big deal because, you know, how many controllers are ever online in one particular time when you're on. But if you're flying in a VATSIM event, which I really love doing, there's a lot of controllers on. and it's super easy to be able to select the frequency, standby. You can even see the messages from the controller as well as ATIS messages. It's a really, really smart tool. I hope that Fenix actually steals this idea, but in the meantime, this is something I miss every single time I fly in an event on VATSIM in the Fenix, so kudos to the FlyByWire team. Something else that Fenix is definitely aware of and working to fix is the performance in the plane. Certainly the Fenix has a little more heavy on the frames, if you will, than the FlyByWire A320. If you go into the Fenix, you're going to detect more of a frame drop compared to the Fly-by-Wire, and certainly this is something that Fenix has been working on since the product launched, and I have no doubt this will eventually get in a better spot. I'll be perfectly honest, I think this is generally a Microsoft Flight Simulator problem in general. It's not a very efficient simulator in terms of frames. You're not going to get a lot of aircraft that really perform that well, but with the Fenix, it does take a little bit of a hit, which is more of a problem when you're on the ground in a big city. If you're flying out of a smaller airport, or you're up in cruise altitude, this really doesn't matter, but if you have a less beefy machine, you may find more of a performance hit with the Fenix, and this has been something a lot of people have mentioned over time since the product launched. So, I have no doubt that Fenix is working to improve it, but for right now, the performance is better in the Fly-by-Wire. And lastly, the Fly-by-Wire team launched a new feature, which I don't really use. I'm not sure how well it'll actually be used, when you're actually flying, but theoretically, there is CPDLC functionality in the latest build of the Fly-by-Wire A320 Neo. I've always thought that the CPDLC integration in general in any aircraft and any sim is always something that a lot of flight sim nerds really harp on as a big deal, but nobody ever actually uses it. There's very few, air traffic controllers that use it. Certainly in the US, it's very rare. But it's a feature, and hey, if you got a feature, you got a feature. And certainly I'm going to give credit where credit is due, and that is there is CPDLC integration in the Fly-by-Wire. I can't speak to how well it works because I haven't used it, but for the purposes of this list, it is a feature that gives it a leg up compared to the Fenix. Now, again, Fenix will definitely be adding this in here, and I have no doubt it will be integrated. But as of the recording of this video, it wasn't in there. So to be fair, the Fly-by-Wire A320 Neo team has a leg up on there. So there you have it, my list of the things that I certainly prefer in the Fly-by-Wire compared to the Fenix. I love both. I fly both. I fly definitely the Fenix way more than I fly the Fly-by-Wire. So I'm not here to hate on the Fenix. I'm just here to point out there are some features that I miss and generally prefer in the Fly-by-Wire A320 Neo. Let me know in the comments below, which of these do you agree with? There's something I missed from the list that you think should definitely be here. And yes, we should probably do a reverse the list where we talk about the things that Fenix has, the Fly-by-Wire doesn't have. That would totally be fair on this. But, I figured we'll start out with this list here. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on features and which ones really stand out from either aircraft. If you like this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So please do me a favor, if you can hit that subscribe button, it would really make a huge difference. This has been Hotchmania. We'll talk again real soon.